The 47th floor of the Sterling Monroe Tower didn't smell like a place of business today. It smelled like an ambush. The scent of expensive floor wax mixed with the metallic tang of cold ozone from the server rooms. It was 10:45 a.m., and the sun was hitting the glass walls at a sharp, unforgiving angle, casting long, jagged shadows across the open-plan office where 300 employees sat in a silence so thick it was suffocating. At the center of the atrium stood Althea Monroe. She was a pillar of stillness, dressed in a royal blue wool crepe suit that had been tailored to the millimeter. The blue was deep, the color of the ocean at midnight, representing the decade of stability she had brought to this firm. Across from her stood the board of directors, a semicircle of predators led by Victoria Sloan. Victoria was a study in calculated aggression. She wore a bold red silk gown that flowed like spilled blood against the white marble floor. Her lips were painted a matching shade of crimson, pulled back into a smirk that didn't reach her cold, obsidian eyes. "The box, Leland," Victoria said, her voice amplified by the silence. Leland, the CFO, stepped forward. He wore a red silk tie that looked like a noose around his neck. He wasn't just holding a cardboard box. He was holding it with a sense of theatrical triumph. He shoved it toward Althea's chest, the rough cardboard scraping against her blue lapel. "We thought you want to carry out your own trash, Althea," Leland sneered, his voice loud enough to reach the back rows of cubicles. "Oh, looking at this office, the real trash is the woman still wearing the founder badge." The mockery was intentional. The humiliation was the point. They weren't just firing a CEO. They were performing a ritual to break a legend in front of her followers. The betrayal had started hours earlier. Althea had arrived at the building in her Toyota Camry, a car she kept because it reminded her of the grit it took to start this company. At the entrance, Vance, the head of legal, was waiting in a red-trimmed trench coat. "Parking's full for former employees, Monroe," Vance had barked, signaling the security team to block her usual spot. "You can use the metered street parking 3 blocks away. I hear the exercise is good for people looking for work." Althea had walked those 3 blocks in the biting wind, her blue coat buttoned tight. When she entered the lobby, her badge, the one that used to open every door in the city, turned red. Denied. She had to be signed in as a visitor by a smirking junior intern who had been hired only 2 weeks prior. Now, in the boardroom, Victoria began the audit of failure. She opened Althea's private files on a massive 98-inch monitor for everyone to see. "Look at this," Victoria shouted, pointing at the Employee Wellness Initiative and the Pensions Guarantee Fund. While we were looking for growth, our CEO was playing social worker. She spent $400 million of our money ensuring the little people had a safety net. Well, Althea, today we're cutting that net, and we're starting with you. Victoria walked a slow circle around Althea, her red dress rustling like a snake in dry grass. She reached out and flicked Althea's royal blue collar. "You think you're so dignified in your blue, so steady, but by lunch you'll be a punchline. I've already leaked the restructuring to the press. The headline is Monroe's Fall. How does it feel to watch your life's work be erased by the very people you hired?" Leland stepped in closer, his breath smelling of expensive coffee and malice. "I've already deactivated your cloud access. I've wiped your company phone. I've even canceled your corporate card while you were standing here. You don't even have enough credit to buy a taxi ride home. You're not just fired, Althea. You're deleted." Althea remained silent. She didn't look at the box. She didn't look at the mocking faces in red. She looked at the server clock on the wall. 10 hours, 58 minutes, and 45 seconds. The justice debt was fully loaded. The villains had taken everything they thought mattered. The title, the car, the badge, and the dignity. They had reached the peak of their arrogance, standing in their red uniforms of greed, convinced that the woman in blue was a defeated ghost. "Is that all, Victoria?" Althea asked, her voice so calm it caused a flicker of hesitation in Vance's eyes. "It's more than enough," Victoria laughed. "Security, escort the visitor out through the service stairs." The 2 security guards stepped forward, their heavy boots thudding against the marble, ready to seize Althea's arms. Victoria stood back, her bold red gown shimmering with triumph as she prepared to watch the founder of Sterling Monroe dragged away like a common trespasser. "Wait," Althea said. It wasn't a shout. It was a command that carried the weight of a decade of leadership. The guards froze. Althea didn't look at the guards. She looked directly at Vance, the head of legal, whose red trim coat seemed to suddenly feel tight around his neck. "Vance," Althea said, her voice dropping into a low, resonant frequency. "When you drafted the Master Infrastructure Agreement 5 years ago, you were so focused on protecting the company from outside hackers that you forgot to read the proprietary IP lease. Or did you just assume the CEO would never be staff?" Vance's smirk faltered. A bead of sweat broke out on his forehead. "What are you talking about, Althea? You're fired. Your access is gone. Move on." "My access to your servers is gone," Althea agreed, her hand reaching into the pocket of her royal blue blazer. She pulled out a small, obsidian black device, a hardware encryption key with a pulsing blue LED. But the Sterling Monroe operating system, the high-frequency trading algorithms, and the global client databases don't belong to the company. They are leased from Monroe Architecture, LLC, a private firm I founded a year before this building was even a blueprint. Victoria stepped forward, her red dress rustling aggressively. "Lies! We own this building. We own the computers. You own the hardware. Victoria, you own the metal and the glass," Althea replied, her thumb hovering over the device. "But my contract states if I am terminated without a 30-day transition notice and a formal board-certified exit interview, the software lease terminates instantly. You chose the humiliation ritual over the legal procedure. You fired me at 10:59 a.m. It is now 11 a.m. Althea pressed a button. The effect was not subtle. It was a digital execution. Across the 47th floor, 300 computer monitors flickered once, then turned a flat, dead charcoal gray. The massive 98-inch boardroom screen, which had been displaying Althea's failures, went black. Then, a single line of text appeared in royal blue. License expired. All data encrypted per protocol 8.3. The silence was broken by the sound of Leland's tablet hitting the floor. "The trading floor," he screamed, sprinting to the glass balcony. "The NYSE feed is dead. We have $1.4 billion in open positions and no way to close them." Victoria grabbed a desk phone, her knuckles white against the red of her dress, but there was no dial tone. The VoIP system was gone. The elevators groaned to a halt between floors. Even the smart tint glass of the windows defaulted to a pitch-black opaque state, plunging the arrogant board members into a tomb of their own making. "Call the IT department," Victoria shrieked, her voice cracking with a desperation that made the junior staff in the cubicles look up with grim satisfaction. "IT can't help you, Victoria," Althea said, walking toward the exit as the emergency lights kicked in, casting a flickering blue glow over her suit. "I didn't just lock the files. I've initiated a cease and desist for the unauthorized use of my patents. Every trade you made in the last 60 seconds is legally void. Every bonus you promised yourself today is now a liability." The double doors of the lobby burst open. This time, it wasn't security. A team of men in dark navy tactical jackets with SEC and federal auditor embroidered on the back marched in. At their lead was Marcus, the chief of financial crimes. He walked past the guards, past the trembling Leland, and stood in front of Victoria. "Victoria Sloan, we've received a whistleblower report regarding the illegal dissolution of pension funds to cover executive bonuses. Since your company just suffered a total system failure, we are here to seize all physical records before they are accidentally lost." The humiliation was total. Victoria, the woman who wanted a public execution, was now being photographed by her own employees as she was escorted toward the service stairs, the very path she had prescribed for Althea. Her bold red dress, once a symbol of her power, now looked like a target for the federal agents surrounding her. Leland and Vance were handcuffed right there in the atrium, their red ties loosened and messy, their careers erased in the span of 11 minutes. Althea walked out of the building and into the sunlight. Her Toyota Camry was waiting at the curb, and as she sat inside, her phone buzzed. It was a message from the Monroe system server. 312 employment applications received from Sterling Monroe staff. Integration beginning. The woman in blue had lost her job, but she had kept the kingdom. The villains in red had kept the building. But they were about to find out that a kingdom without a soul is just a pile of expensive glass.